Tim Pawlenty, the former Republican governor of the state of Minnesota. Governor, welcome back. Let me start with that. I thought that was an interesting story because you wonder, will Trump go forward with the tariffs? He says the answer tomorrow is yes, 25%, even in 20 on China now. But because if you start seeing stories like this, that's the intended effect, right? That companies are going to move back to the United States. So to some extent, are the threats working?
It seems that way, and I think it was important for him to not just make these threats, but to go forward with them. Otherwise, people are going to realize if they make some minor concessions, he blinks and retracts the threat. And so going forward was probably inevitable. And if the effects are what you just reported from Honda, more broadly, over time, they could be positive. But in the near term, they could also, in isolation, be inflationary. And if inflationary reignites, that's going to be a big negative for this president.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's already an issue. And you know, I agree with you. I said the same thing, I think, on Friday when we were in the middle of all the Ukraine mess in the Oval Office. I said the issue politically for this president is probably going to be the economy, like it is for every president, and especially inflation. So you don't want to add to that. But he will short-term add to that, most likely, right?
I think that's right. And maybe he's thinking he's got to take on some short-term pain for a longer-term gain. Right. Keep in mind, for example, in Canada, most of the imports that come into the U.S. are oil and gas by volume and by dollar volume. And so, you know, and that's a huge part of the economy and a huge part of the base upon which inflation is calculated. So you're playing with matches when you start to raise tariffs on oil and gas. I think his theory is he's going to produce so much oil and gas in the U.S. Will drive down the Canadian imports. We'll see. But being able to bring down the price of energy, not drive it up, is an important part of driving down inflation, if that's his goal, and I hope it is.
Well, I think the other thing in the middle of the country, especially, you're going to worry about the farmers. And there's agricultural tariffs coming on the 2nd of April. Not April 1st, he says. He didn't want to do April Fool's Day. And other kind of reciprocal tariffs, right? So he, on his social media earlier, Trump said this about the farmers. To the great farmers of the United States, get ready to start making a lot of agricultural product to be sold inside of the United States. Tariffs will go on external product April 2nd, and he ends it with, have fun. But will they, you know, in the meantime? Will this actually be something that helps farmers or hurts them? To your point earlier, in the near term versus the long term.
I live in farm country. I spent a good deal of time not long ago talking to farmers about this very issue, and they're very concerned. And you might recall in Trump's first administration, when he first got elected, first term, he sent cash out to farmers to buy off the pain of the tariffs. And so if you're trying to cut the budget, sending out more cash may not be productive, or at least consistent with those other goals.
Yeah, but that might be the way to go now, because those are his constituents, right? I mean, you're right. I spent a lot of time on farms, was covering the first Trump administration, a lot of time talking. And you're right, they were concerned, but then he kind of, quote unquote, tried to take care of them, right?
That's right. And then may not do that this time. And keep in mind, Connell, the exports from an agricultural standpoint are a lot of it's commodities, some of it's processed foods. But the processed foods that we have, like Hormel in Minnesota, that's outbound. That's not inbound product. It's not like we're getting a lot of agricultural processed products from some of these countries. So it's more complex than just saying we're going to bring everything back to the U.S. We don't think we're bringing China's agricultural commodity production into the U.S. for the most part.
Hey, one other thing, Governor, while I have you, I wonder what an old school Republican like you, it was old school, by the way, not old school Republican like you would think of what the president said about President Reagan earlier. Let's listen. Here it is.
If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect, because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade.
Bad on trade. What do you say?
Well, it's fair to say whether it's President Reagan, President Clinton, or all the other presidents we've had in modern history, you know, the old ways didn't work. They didn't work as to how we reduce the budget or constrain spending. And they didn't really work for trade when it came to the fact that so much of America's manufacturing base and other elements of our economy got hollowed out and shipped overseas. So the old ways didn't work, Connell. They didn't.
Have you changed your mind on this issue? Do you think about it differently than you did years ago or at all?
I do think we've been taken advantage of. Yeah, the answer to your question is yes. I do think we've been taken advantage of. I've studied, closely what happens to American businesses in China. We're not treated fairly. And so unless and until we are dialing up the heat on some of these countries is the right thing to do in terms of fairness, but also the old ways as it relates to big parts of the American economy didn't work. And look at the towns all across this country that got hollowed out by various bad trade deals.
No, they were.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.